Hey y'all, I'm back again with another video on how to soak your nails. Now this is probably the easiest way to soak at home by yourself, okay? So you're gonna start off by clipping those nails down, and you wanna clip them to your natural nail or under your natural nail, but not too far, because you do not wanna hit that hyponychium, which is the skin that is underneath that nail. So if you ever wonder, why do I have skin bunched up underneath my nail? That is called a hyponychium, and it's just excess skin, extra skin that's sitting there from pretty much wearing acrylics and wearing nails. Your nail grows out, the skin grows underneath. If it makes sense, it makes sense. It should though. Now when you're clipping those nails, you wanna make sure you got some goggles on, because if you see the way that those nails are just flying all across the room, I'm telling you, I was hitting the wall, I was hitting my face, I was hitting everything. So make sure you have some type of goggles or protection on your eyes. And then you're going to go ahead and put the speed on 11 and put this drill bit in. Now this is a 5-in-1 drill bit, and it helps to take off bulk, like thickness. So once you put this on, it's going to take off that top coat, and it's also going to take off a good layer of that acrylic so that your nail can be thinner. And with all drill bits, I would say be very, very careful, because the higher the speed is on your drill can create heat on that drill bit, and that heat will transfer to your nail. So if the client is ever saying, oh, my finger's hot, or I feel that, it's because the speed is too high and the heat is coming from the drill. And listen, I'm pretty sure we all want to do soak-offs in 5 minutes, but soak-offs do take time. And if you're doing them on yourself, just know you're going to have to make sure that if the finger is hot, go to the next one and come back. Like, don't stay on one finger and burn yourself because you're trying to get that thickness down. The thickness is going to get down no matter what, as long as you take your time. This is where you also want to prevent causing the ring of fire. So do not sit in one area for too long, and do not go around that hyponychium too many times and burn your nail. Do not do it, okay? So sometimes what I like to do is I'll go through all my fingers, take off that top coat, take off a good layer of that thickness, and then I'll go right back around on the same hand and take down more of that bulk with the drill until I feel like it's good enough for me to use my hand file. And I always want y'all to know how I'm stabilizing my hand using my pinky. I'm using a finger to make sure I'm not doing too much with that drill. I don't want that drill to go around my finger. I do not want that drill to touch any part of my skin. I want to make sure I'm avoiding that drill touching anything aside from the nail, okay? So I'm always going to have my pinky above the nail and then my thumb under the nail to stabilize that finger. And anytime I touch the sidewalls or anything, my thumb is also able to pull back the skin, and my pinky is able to do the same thing. So it helps hand in hand using both fingers. But I want you to notice that I do this with every single finger. And during this process, make sure you have a mask on and goggles or something to cover your face and protect your nose, because all this dust goes into your nose. Like I'm telling you, it's all over your face, all over your hairs, everywhere. And now I'm just going to use my hand file to make it a little bit thinner. And during this, I'm literally just going over it because I don't want to use my hand file and make my nails too hot. So I think a hand file is always easier to know how much pressure I'm putting on the nail. And no, you do not technically have to do this part. You can drill and it should be fine, but I just do this because it helps for a quicker soak. Now when I am doing a client's hand, I do not do this. I just drill, and I drill enough to soak it. But for myself, because I want it to be faster, I am right now filing in both directions, so I'm going back and forth. But when I am on my natural nail, I do not do that. I literally just file in one direction. Now me personally, I want my acrylic to be this thin when I'm soaking my nails compared to my right hand, okay? Now I use these soaking bowls from Amazon. They are $10. I recommend every single person buy one because it is so useful. You put water in the bottom layer, warm it up, and then you put acetone in the top layer. And when you use acetone, you want to use 100% acetone because that's going to help with the acrylic to be removed. Now that I finished drilling both hands and I got both hands stand, I'm ready to soak. Now be careful, because I know I told y'all to warm that water up, but the hotter the water is, the quicker the soak off will be. But you don't want the water to be so hot that your fingers can't even sit in acetone. So when your nails start to look like this, it is time to go ahead and start filing that off. And I do use my hand file because I'm just more comfortable with it, and I don't want to ruin any of my bits by getting them too gunky. Now this is the difference between MMA and EMA. If you're using EMA, which is ethyl methacrylate, this is the correct monomer to use. And in the nail industry, it's actually the standard monomer that professionals use to adhere the acrylic. Now I'm telling you this because when you're soaking off, you want your nails to be dry looking and like fluffy. You don't want them to look slimy, because that indicates that the nail tech or the professional who did your nails, if it was yourself or someone else, used MMA. And MMA is actually illegal in the nail industry. So methyl methylate is also known as MMA, and it is not FDA approved. It creates a slimy texture to your nails, and it is harder to get off. So if you've ever struggled to get your nails off and you're wondering why is it so slimy and why is it not coming off, it is because it's not supposed to be used on your nails. MMA can cause nail damage and infections, and it can also create so much trauma on your nails that you wouldn't even be able to put on acrylics ever again. Now let's get back to soaking. So as you see, I pull my hand out of the bowls, and I am now taking my hand file to go over them and file. I remove all the acrylic that was fluffed up, and I'm able to put my hands back in the bowl and take off the remainder of the acrylic that is on the nails. And I let each hand sit in the bowl for about 10 minutes before I take them out and start filing again. But I want you to notice how I am now filing in the one direction that I was speaking about earlier. Now the reason why I file in one direction is because I do not want to create heat spikes on my nails, and I do not want to over file my nails and make them super thin. So the closer I get to my natural nail, I start filing in one direction. I do not go back and forth. If I do go back and forth, it is very light strokes. I'm not doing too much. I'm not going hard, and I'm not putting too much pressure. And the reason why I'm doing it with the hand file and not the hand drill is because you can over file with the drill. Like, yes, you want the acrylics to come off, but you do not want to rush it. Again, you want to take your time, and I feel like the hand file is just best. It's the best method. I recommend it, and I would say to everybody, use your hand file. Get used to using your hand file because it helps so much. I still had a little bit more acrylic on my nails, so I did put it back in the bowl again. And like I said, you have to do it a couple times. There's nothing wrong with putting your hand back in the bowl to get that acrylic off. I did it about 4 times, and I kid you not, I finished my soak off in 30 minutes. So it may look like it was a lot, but it took 30 minutes. And see, I'm pretty much done. Like I love this. I love this. And everything you do to one hand, you do to the next hand if you're doing your own soak off. And I recommend, if you're a client and you're just watching this video, you know the process of a soak off, because a soak off is so easy, yet there's no techs that will do too much, and they will literally damage your natural nail. So once you take off, again, the fluffy layer, you're gonna look at your nails and see where there is still acrylic, and those will be the nails that you soak. Don't put all fingers in if you don't have to. So as you see, I left out these 4 fingers because they didn't have any acrylic on them. So now I'm just gonna focus on the nails that do have acrylic on them. And honestly, once it gets to this point, it just literally gets so easy. It's the thinnest layer of acrylic that you're trying to get off, and of course the thumbs always have acrylic on them. So So once you get them off and you get all the acrylic off, then you can go ahead and prep the nails for a whole new set. And I want y'all to notice how my fingers is not wrinkly. This is why I recommend doing this, because when you use the acetone and the cotton ball method, I feel like your fingers are just so wrinkly and it's just so hard to get back to normal. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like it's just harder. And I feel like with the bows, you can directly put your nails in there and just have them sit, and it's not going too far. And honestly, I haven't had no problems with it, so why not? Look at my nails. Look. Are you seeing this? And that right there is a healthy soak off. Okay, so how do we prep? So I start out by taking my sanding bit, and anytime I'm on my natural nails, I do use my drill on a speed 5, only because I do not want to create too much trauma on my nail. I just did a soak off, and now I'm just trying to prep them so that they're not too rough and they're not, touching stuff. And I don't know, I just want them to be smooth on the top. I want them to feel like a buff on the top. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a buff on them, and I'm gonna let them breathe for a day before I go ahead and put some nails on them, only because I always wear nails, and this is the time that I can feel things, I can touch things with my hands. So I'm just gonna prep them and clean them up, and I'm gonna let them be for 24 hours. And anytime, like I said, I'm on my natural nails, that speed is not going too fast. I'm able to control the drill with my hand, again with the pinky holding my finger for stability, and it's the same routine. Nothing changes. I promise you, nothing changes. I'm just gonna go and make sure my nails is clean. I don't want acetone looking crusty fingers, so that's all I'm doing. I'm cleaning them up. As you see, my nails are healthy. I have no ring of fire. I'm gonna push my cuticles back, and I'm gonna cut my cuticles. Now, to push your cuticles back, you're gonna use a cuticle pusher, and I'm literally being gentle with it. And I'm just pushing back the dead skin that is on the nail plate because I want to clean around that area. Now, when people get confused and say, oh yeah, cut my cuticles, you're pushing the cuticles back in a sense. You're pushing them into the hyponychium, and then you're just gonna lightly cut around that hyponychium. You don't want to go too hard because then you will touch the proximal nail fold. Once you cut into that proximal nail fold, that is when you will start to bleed. And listen, I'm gonna use the correct terminology when it comes to the nails because I need you guys to start understanding what is the difference between what. I know it's hard to see because they're all so close to each other, but you have to know the difference, because if you don't, you're gonna be asking a nail tech to cut the wrong thing, and then you're gonna wonder why you ended up cut. And hello, and not just that, nail tech should be able to explain this to clients. Like, a client asking to cut your cuticle, I'm sorry girl, it's not your cuticle. But let me not go too deep, because honestly, it is what it is. We all understand what people are asking for when they say to cut your cuticle. They just want it to look clean, and there's no problem with that, but don't go too deep. There's no purpose. Like, it doesn't help the nail, it doesn't help the nail growth, it doesn't help. And for those of you who don't know what this tool is, I should have explained this when I started, but this is a cuticle nipper, and it is just to nip the cuticles. Like, you're lightly touching it, you're getting the dead skin off of that nail, but you're also just cleaning around the hyponychium. You're not doing too much, okay? You are not doing too much. I cannot stress it enough. I hate seeing bloody cuticles. I hate seeing bloody fingers. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, gentle. You're just nipping it small. And I'm not trying to impress nobody doing this, okay? I'm just trying to clean up, okay? So I'm not trying to get it all off in one piece and make sure it's attached. I don't care. I'm going to go in small sections, and I'm going to do it the right way, no matter what. So quick story time. One time when I first started doing nails, I really didn't know how to cut cuticles at all. And I used to really go too deep. And I was always traumatized when I cut a client, because I wanted them to return back, and I didn't want them to have a negative review on me. So I really practiced this. Like, I love cutting cuticles. Now it's so easy. Now I understand it, but I definitely recommend, if you're not educated, get educated, pay attention. And if you ever do use the cuticle nippers and do end up cutting the client, use a liquid septic directly on the cuts and disinfect and sterilize your tools, okay? Hey, so if you're here from part 1 and part 2, I'm assuming that you've seen them. Now that we're done, these are how the nails look, and I am in love. I love my natural nails. I love seeing my natural nails. I love letting my natural nails breathe. And no, nails do not technically breathe, but I love feeling like they got some air. I love seeing my natural nails. And just so that you know, the skin underneath is a hyponychium, so I am going to cut these because they are thin and they're going to nag on everything. So I'm going to go ahead and cut around the hyponychium just to make sure that my nails are very comfortable. So I do use my nail cutters, and I go around the nail lightly. I make sure to avoid the hyponychium. As you see, I'm going to continuously check under my nail to make sure I am not cutting that hyponychium, okay? And the hyponychium is just the skin that's underneath that nail. You want to avoid cutting it because that can bleed, that can hurt you, and that can also cause long-term nail trauma. That skin underneath the nail acts as a seal to protect your nail bed from bacteria. Now let's talk about this, because I've had clients ask me if they can cut the skin underneath or if I could cut it for them, and I will highly recommend you do not cut that skin ever, okay? You may be able to push it back a little bit, but it will hurt, but I do not recommend it, and I do not recommend cutting it. Don't tamper with that skin. It's okay to have skin underneath your nail. It's protecting you. And as you see, I do it with all my nails. I'm literally making sure I do not cut that hyponychium. Can I stress it enough? I don't know what to tell you. If you're rushing, you shouldn't be rushing. And if you're cutting a client's nails, make sure that you check underneath that nail. Make sure you check underneath all their nails, because you never know. That is the worst pain ever. And it's hard to do nails on top of that. It is hard to come back from that. And honestly, if you want to keep your clientele, I would recommend you just check, because you never know. And if you're like me, who's been doing my nails for 5 years consistently, that skin is going to grow outwards. That's the thing. When your nails grow, that skin is going to grow too. It's also going to get thicker. And it's also going to be in a way. Anyways, I hope this was very helpful. And if you have any questions or concerns about anything, just let me know. I can teach you. I can tell you, and I can educate you. Be safe doing nails, and make sure that you're paying attention. Okay?